I'm Bill Gross, the LA probate expert, and my sidekick, Patricia. Say hi, Patricia.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us today.
Patricia Castillo. I'm the LA probate expert, but this is our Wednesday home buying seminar. We get together every week to talk about issues and help you get prepared to buy a house, whether it's your first house or trade up or an investment. And today we're really lucky to have a special guest, somebody who is an expert in an important pivotal piece of the business. And I think also by being there gives us perspective on the rest. Connie Huang, so with State Farm Insurance in Fullerton, curiously enough at Imperial and Harbor Boulevard near La Habra. Hey, Connie, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Give us a little background real quick. How did you get into insurance?
I walked into a company probably about 20 years ago, and I thought it was a mutual fund company, and it ended up being a life insurance company. And I wasn't going to take the job at the time, but I decided I didn't have a job at the time because I had just graduated from college and took it and fell in love with insurance. And so life insurance rolled into property and casualty, which are homes and cars. And here I am today, an insurance nerd loving to talk about it.
So you are a State Farm Insurance. Do you own the office, or what's your role there at the State Farm office?
This is my office. I have 4 employees here, team members that help me with everyday activities, just helping our customers with home insurance specifically, since you guys are focusing on home insurance today, making sure they're properly protected, making sure that they have the right policy in place, and making sure we get those policies done in a timely manner, because once we go into escrow, it can be quick. I mean, customers have to come up with the right items, and then they want the insurance there at the exact right time. And so when we get requests for insurance, we typically get it done within the hour.
So I find that the real value of an insurance agent is not just insurance, which has to be done and do a good job, but that I think in general, you see more transactions than we do by a lot, meaning your business typically is a smaller commission on a lot more deals. Do you mind sharing how many policies do you have in force, or how many policies do you write a month? Can you give me an idea of the kind of volume of business that you're involved with?
We will do it. It'll be a mix of different types of policies, but it can range anywhere from 50 to 100 policies a month. Right. And all of them be somewhat complex, somewhat time consuming. And so each of those do take quite some time to put together.
And so I think that, again, like I said, I think one of the real values, I don't even know the insurance agents appreciate the perspective they have by just seeing that volume of paperwork, the number of people and circumstances that come up that are important. So I'm sure you deal with some of those 50 a month are people who are buying a house for the first time. Do they come to you at that point with questions? Do they know what to expect? Are they surprised? Are there challenges? What's that look like from your angle on your side at the office?
So a lot of them are first-time home buyers, and a lot of them come to us. They ask for either hazard insurance or fire insurance, because that's the term that the escrow individuals use. And so really all that is, it's home insurance. Home insurance will cover fires, will cover hazards, will put you up in a place to live if something ever happened, like a fire that broke out. And so those are some of the terms that get thrown around pretty often. Someone will come and say, hey, can you give me a policy? And then the next question is, does this cover fire, or does this cover hazards? Yes, they do. It's a pretty comprehensive policy that covers both.
You cover all those problems because, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Like Connie is there.
Oh, very nice. Connie is there. I like that. So, let's talk about the policy. What you don't cover. Do you cover earthquakes?
So that's a separate policy. That wouldn't be under the home insurance. That would be what we call the California earthquake policy. And it's an additional policy that a customer can opt into. It's not typically required by loan companies, but some people like the insurance or the being able to sleep at night with the earthquake policy. And some people don't care for it because it is a different type of policy than the fire home insurance policy.
Sure. And so my experience, the earthquake deductible is much higher.
It is. It is a percentage. It'll range from anywhere from 5% up to 20% of the dwelling, and dwelling amounts, and those can range as well, 200,000, 500,000, $1 million for the rebuild of a house. So you can imagine what a 20% deductible on $1 million rebuild of a house is. 200,000 out of pocket. And so some people just say, hey, you know what? I'm going to gamble and I'm not going to take that policy.
And just to be precise, when you say the dwelling, so a house has two components. There's the land and the dwelling. And we buy a house in California, typically the dwelling is about 30-40% of the value of the purchase price. You buy a house for $1 million, most commonly the dwelling is 300 to 400,000 and the land is 600 to 700,000. So you only talk about insuring the dwelling part, and that you're saying there's a deduction that could be substantial, but there's no reason to insure the land. Does the earthquake policy cover if the land shifts and causes foundational breakage and things like that? Is that included in part of the earthquake insurance?
It covers the dwelling itself. And so it would cover the rebuild of that house, the rebuild of the structure. And then depending on different items that you might add on to the earthquake policy,
Right.
It could extend more coverage from there.
Right.
Not a lot of people, but we'll get some loan companies that require that we insure the house for the purchase price.
Right.
And that's we come in and say, hey, that's really not where you want to insure the purchase price, because one, you have made that cost exorbitant to the customer buying that house. And then two, we're not rebuilding that land. We're really just going to rebuild the structure. And so that
Right.
home insurance part is that we're only going to insure the home structure.
So typically, I think lenders will require 100% replacement costs, right? They want to know that you will commit to replacing that size dwelling. If it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2,000 square foot house, they want to know that you'll cover that. Now, I imagine though the cost of replacement, like everything else, is going up, right?
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at everything in the marketplace as you're driving, you see gas, you buy a car, that goes the same as that dwelling. The cost of labor has gone up, the cost of materials have gone up, and so that all affects the insurance.
So I would think, I don't mean to cast a downer on your business, but I would think every day you're sitting at renewals that are higher than last year's by 15-20%. Is that about right?
That's across in the industry. It's just something that has to be built in. The cost of insurance has gone up.
Right. And so everybody's seeing those kind of increases. Is that causing people with policies at other companies to call you and say, hey, I'm at inferior insurance company and can you do better? You must be getting those phone calls. And I imagine your customers are also, some of them are pricing it. Do you see that? Are people sharpening their pencil, or are they just accepting that everything's going up in price?
No, they're sharpening their pencils. Our customers are sharpening their pencils. Other customers are. So they'll come to us. I mean, if you see our State Farm commercials, we do a lot of bundling. You'll
Yes.
get savings. You move your car, your home. There's multiple types of bundle discounts here.
Right.
And then on the flip, when our customers call, we do a full review of the policy. We do a full review of what their car insurance looks like, their home insurance. Are they missing any discounts? And so we really like to be a very comprehensive agent for a customer by being able to do those reviews for them. Now,
Patty says she's bundled with you. I don't know if that means you guys have some personal relationship, or that means that she has her house and car. I'll leave that to your imagination.
It's
I can't bundle with Connie because I'm a married man. So sorry, Connie.
Yep, I have a personal experience with Connie, and I'd like to just add that she's very responsive, resourceful. Anytime I've called her, she picks up her phone. I am gonna say I have shopped around, and she's usually very competitive and aggressive in her rates. So I have my homeowner's insurance, car insurance, and my daughter's also with her. So
Nice.
yeah, so we've had excellent service with Connie.
You're all bundled with Connie together, okay? That
Oh
sounds
yeah,
nice.
we're all bundling with her right now.
Connie, tell me about non-homeowners. I know Eva's on the call and she's looking to invest in property out of state. Very important that when you buy property out of state, the lender's going to acquire insurance, or could buy cash. Important to have that insurance. So talk a little bit about home insurance for non-primary residences for investors. What is that like and how's that different for you?
So a lot of people reference that as landlord insurance. We call it a rental dwelling property, depending on how many units there are. Every company is a little bit different. Under about up to two complexes, we call it a rental dwelling, and then anything above that we label it as an apartment. And so it's not very different from insuring as a home insurance. We do our due diligence, look through everything, look at what the square feet is, do the rebuild costs, and make sure they have the right liability, because you don't want one of your tenants suing you. And then if they do, you want the right limits there. You want the insurance company to back you at that point, because when tenants sue, they're typically maybe looking for money. So those are just some of the items that come into play when it comes to landlord policies.
One of the things I find that customers try to get away with is they'll say, well, I'm going to buy the property as I'm going to call it owner occupied. I'm going to rent it out. This time you get insurance, and if you're renting it out, you want to have tenant insurance because you might have a claim and it may or may not get approved if you have a tenant and you've been renting it for 3 months or for 3 years. Is that an issue that comes up? Do you counsel clients when there's a mismatch between the insurance and the loan type documents, or is that something that you leave the customer to decide?
Well, with that type of deal, the loan company is specific as to what they want, so we provide that. And then if the customer ends up changing their mind and wanting to rent it out, then we can always rewrite the policy to fit their needs.
Right.
And so we go by what is supposed to be in place and what the loan company needs, and we fulfill both parties.
Got it. And then we have a couple questions in the chat box I'll get to, but just one last question I have is, so are you exclusively State Farm? Do you also have other lines that you represent, or how does that work if there's something that doesn't fit State Farm guidelines, or are there guidelines broad enough for you to be able to service your customers?
I am exclusively State Farm.
Good for you.
I'm
sorry?
I'm a loyal individual.
I know the agents go both ways on that. And I think that, having been a lender in my past career, I know that it's tough enough to know one set of guidelines and be a master at it. And then you had a second, a third, a fourth. At some point, you start to miss the updates or miss the nuances. And I always feel like I'd much rather master one thing and do really well. And if it doesn't fit you, I'm sure you would tell me, hey, Bill, this doesn't work for me, but I have a friend at such and such, and they'll take care of you. I think that's always been my responsibility, to find the best for my client. And find somebody who really masters their material. So it's good to know. I think I like hearing that. It never feels good to me when somebody says, well, I'm at Farmers or State Farm, but I also broker out to 10 of the lines. I'm thinking, well, why would you do that? But people do. Okay. Great questions in the chat box. I don't know if it's Latia. I'm going to say latte because I like lattes. I'm looking for my first home or my first investment property, which is recommended. I'll turn to you ladies, but I have an answer I'll share with somebody else, one of my coaches. But Patty or Connie, either you have a recommendation. Should somebody first buy their residence, or should they first buy their investment property?
I think it depends on your situation too, Latia, and what's more pressing for you. If you're needing to change your current living situation, then I would say you're probably looking at buying your first residence where you're going to live. So that would be your primary residence. If you are in a situation where you're, financially ready to buy an investment property and you're comfortable where you're living, then I would say that you're ready to buy your investment property. And so, Bill and I can help you with that too. And then Connie will touch on well, she's already kind of gone over the insurance, but, you know, I think it depends on also where you're looking to purchase. That would have an impact on the cost of insurance. So if you're looking to, you know, buy maybe in a rural area or somewhere where there's a lot of brush by a hillside, there's, you know, also I think more insurance that you would have to get as far as your policy is concerned. So isn't
You can
that
bundle.
right, Connie?
You
Right.
can bundle with Connie.
Bundle it. So there is more insurance or I should say more coverage that the lender requires depending on where you're moving to or purchasing the property. Is that right, Connie?
Yeah, whenever you're buying a property, especially when it's not in the, like what you said, it's in more rural area, I would just reach out to your insurance agent, have them run it, or just take a look at it to see if they can even insure it, because a lot of companies have pulled out in certain areas, and then you have to fall back to California Fair Plan. And some people don't like that plan, and just give you some options.
You know, Connie, I'd be interested in your input as a businesswoman. You have a business, you have a house. Do you recommend somebody starting out financially? Should they buy a house first, or should they start to accumulate income and wealth as investment property? Do you have any input on that?
You know, I second Pat, and I think that it just depends on what you want, right? Because if you're currently renting and you don't want to pay $3,000 or $7,000 in rent, and you could buy a property and live in it and pay much less, or just build equity over time, then that's definitely the way to go. But if you're in a different place and you are comfortable with renting, or you're not even paying rent and you could buy an investment property, hey, I think that's a way to start owning properties here in California or anywhere, because right now you're seeing that equity build everywhere.
Right.
Yeah, I think I know when I see people, my concern always is when you buy a house, you tend to buy a bigger, nicer place than you were living before. And so now you're spending more on your housing and your lifestyle. And that makes it harder to save money and build wealth in the long run, other than the equity of the house you're living in. So a lot of people say, well, I'm never going to save any money, but if I buy my house, pay off the mortgage, I'll end up with that. Okay, that's a plan, particularly here in West LA or South Orange County. But generally, there are people who take the opposite approach and say, well, we're here in the apartment, it works for us, but we have a lot of money, but we want to buy something that's going to create wealth over time. We'll buy apartment building or something else or flip some properties and create income and or wealth that way. So I think there's more people looking as an alternative. I know Grant Cardone, one of my coaches, really emphasizes not to buy your residence because you tend to spend more than you should, and it upgrades all of your lifestyle. On the flip side, you're raising kids, you want to live in an area, you want a certain lifestyle, you want to be in certain schools. It gets to be the price of admission. You want the kids to play at your house rather than somebody else's house. So it depends on your lifestyle, but it's kind of interesting perspective from Connie and Patty. Another question that we got asked, Eva, is short-term rentals. I know a lot of people are interested in buying properties and using short-term rentals like Airbnb and such. Do you write insurance for that type of property where somebody buys a property and uses Airbnb or competing services to generate income on the property?
We do insure those type of properties.
And is it different policy for short-term than a regular rental, or is it the same?
It is a different type of policy. You're probably looking at more risk, so it's going to be a different policy than a rental property long-term.
Any idea what the difference is? Are you talking about 10% more, 50% more, 3 times more?
I don't know off the top of my head, because it just varies so differently between each property based on the number of factors, but it usually is a good chunk more than the long-term rentals.
So if you're going to buy a property and it's Airbnb, you want to make sure you get the right insurance quote. I know there are apps, there's some great apps on Bigger Pockets podcast that kind of pre-fill in some calculated numbers for that. But what you don't want to do is run insurance based on your homeowner's insurance policy for an Airbnb, because you're going to end up paying more money monthly, and it may not pencil out as easily as you want. Okay, any other questions, comments? I think we picked up everything in the chat box. I don't see anything on. If you're watching online live, you can put comments in the chat box and they pop up here as well. or if you're watching it on a replay, if you put comments there, either Patty or I'll get back to you with any answers, or we'll reach out to Connie if we need to for her input. Not seeing any hands waved or questions. Any last comments you want to make, Connie? People thinking about buying a house and improving their personal family wealth. Any suggestions you'd make to help them? And again, I'm not asking you really as an insurance person, insurance expert, but more just as a successful local businesswoman who's done well, created business and such. What advice would you give people who are looking to get started and build some wealth? What would you suggest to them?
I would just do of your household policies, find a name and let them know.
Oops. I'm sorry. We got some noise in the background. I did mute real quick. One more time, Connie, if you could just repeat what you said. I'm sorry.
I would just suggest everyone to do review of their policies, and just make sure everything works the way that you wanted it to work, and find an agent that you like, that you trust, and let them help you point out some recommendations. And that's a good start from there.
Great. And if somebody wanted to reach out to Connie, how would they get a hold of you?
They can email me at connie@conniehuang.com, CONNIEHWANG, or they can call our office, 714-213-8518. We have a website, www.conniehuang.com. I might have added an extra W in there for whatever reason. Those are a couple ways to reach out to us, and then give us a call, and we can certainly help you and see if we can fine tune those policies for you.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. And also, if for some reason you don't get that information, Patty is definitely bundled with Connie, so she can give you make a connection if necessary. So thank you, Connie. Thank you so much for your time and being with us. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Patty, any last words you want to say for our people looking to buy houses here, either investors or homeowners?
Yes, I wanted to also just commenting back with Latia's question. There's also a term called house hacking. So that's where you would purchase a duplex or a triplex, and you would live in one unit and rent out the others. So that's a great way of starting to build, your real estate wealth, and also having that experience. So you're starting with tenants, and you're not going to have a big apartment to manage, but you're just going to start with, your immediate tenants. So that's a good way to buy an investment property that you're actually living in. So
house hacking also sometimes refers to you have a 3-bedroom house and you live in 1 bedroom and rent out the other 2 bedrooms. And now that may or may not work from a liability with insurance, or it may or may not work with local laws, but I can just tell you a lot of people start that way. You got to keep your costs down to build up equity. And I think the biggest challenge, to creating wealth is living within your means, whatever that means to you. So as you start out in any business, you don't have as much income as you like to have. You got to find some ways to cut those costs. So hopefully, whether it be house hacking or couch surfing in your own house or Airbnb or other investment situations, we can help you with that. So look, Patty, thank you as always. Great to have you as my sidekick on this. And Connie, again, thank you for participating. Latia, thank you for the good questions. And we had some other good questions. Eva and the others, thank you for participating. We do this every Wednesday. My time flies. Every Wednesday at 5 p.m. It's been a long day. It's been a good day, but it's not a long day. Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time. And we record it on YouTube and Facebook. And then you can watch it live. You can watch it on replay. We'd love to have you live so you can participate and ask questions and get them answered, because we want to help you guys be successful in buying your houses. So if I can help at all, I'm Bill Gross and Patricia Castillo. Again, Patricia, how would they reach you if they want to reach out to you?
Sure. So I just put my number in the chat, but
There you go.
I can be reached at 323-365-9909. Call me or text me anytime. I'm happy to answer questions and just guide you through the process.
Fantastic. Well, thanks again, everybody, for being on the call today. Appreciate your support.